Hey everybody, welcome back to our next episode of 6 Feet Under Exhumed. I am Kari the Mortician.
I'm Faith, that mortuary professor. This is the last episode of season three. It is season three episode, is it episode 13?
13.
13, it's called I'm Sorry, I'm Lost.
Yeah.
And we open up with a little girl, and I don't know, it's a bird. I don't do birds. It's a pigeon or some kind of bird.
I
And the
I don't know what
dad
it is.
is like holding it and talking about how they like nursed the bird back to health and now it's time for it to fly away. So it flies away. And then we're on the street and this man is like cursing and yelling, but then you see that he has like what looks like a script in his hand, so he's probably trying out for something. That's what it
A
looked like
roll.
to me. Yeah, he keeps saying the same like expletives over and over. And he goes into this gas station to use the bathroom, but the bathroom's out of order. But he says the bird poops on the man. So
Oh,
that's
he
why he
goes to
needs
the
yeah,
bathroom.
he goes to the bathroom, like wash his hat or whatever. So the guy lets him in there to use the sink, but he uses the toilet as well and plugs it up. So the gas station owner is yelling at him and cursing at him, and he runs out and he's in there like with the plunger or the mop or whatever he's in there with. So he calls his wife to complain about what just happened, and the wife is at home cooking. And for some reason, I don't recall why, it goes out in the backyard. And you like, it's just again one of those things where it's like all this stuff is happening. You know somebody's gonna die, but like
It
what
was
is
too long this time. It was
it
too
was. It was like, what is happening? So this woman goes out in the backyard and you can like see her through the window, and all of a sudden, like just this thing falls out of the sky and like hits her.
Yep.
And it's
And
like
she's dead.
like you don't even see what it is. It's like blue, and that you see it for like a second, and just and she's just
Gone.
and her husband's like, hello, hello, hello.
Gone. And
So,
her name was Anahid.
mm-hmm. She was
Um,
in her 60s. I don't remember. She wasn't old,
I
but
would say 60-ish, early
yeah,
50s, late 50s, early 60s,
yeah.
for sure. Um, I
So
have to
she
say,
got hit by some random stuff falling out of the sky.
I'm wearing my shirt, my Val Kilmer shirt. I'm in my prime.
Oh my gosh.
So
There
I
he
just
is.
had to point that, like, in honor of
R.I.P.
we
Val Kilmer.
love Val Kilmer and all of his. Oh, he's so good. So we're sad at our house about Val
Yeah, he
Kilmer
was
dying.
young too.
He had gone through so many health problems. So I'm amazed. I will say, if you've never watched the documentary about his life, it is phenomenal.
Is it good?
It's amazing.
Is that the one where they like recreated his voice because he couldn't speak?
No,
Or
the
is it
voice.
actually him talking?
I will. Um, Spoiler alert. It's his son.
Oh, really?
You don't realize it till like halfway through. You realize it's his son speaking.
Oh,
Sounds just like him.
yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It is
Wow.
just really good. You learn a lot about him you never knew. It was very well made. We've watched a lot of documentaries. We just watched the Joplin tornado
I
documentary.
just saw that on Netflix or
That
something.
was
I didn't watch it.
really good. Like the
Oh,
editing and everything on it was really, really good. And some of the stories they told that
yeah.
I never heard. I would recommend that one too.
I liked Val Kilmer. I heard he was not a very nice person, but I liked him as an actor.
I will not believe
So,
such, but
that's okay. Don't go looking. Don't go reading. Just live in that world. He was great, but he
no,
was a very good actor.
it's very good.
Yeah.
Side note, Belle.
Okay.
So Nate's still on a train wreck central. He is just not doing good. He is at home when it's like middle of the night and he just goes outside to smoke and he's gone for quite some time and Maya is screaming her full head off. So everybody from the main house goes out to the carriage house and is trying to take care of her and they're like, "Where is he? What's going on?" He comes in, he's like, "Why are you all here?" and is freaking out and they're like, "Dude, you can't just leave your baby alone." And he's like, "I was
Yeah.
outside." And they're like, "Well, if you were right outside, how come everybody could hear your baby cry but you?" So he is in a bad, dark place.
Yeah. They should probably bring the baby in the house.
They need to yeah, something needs to happen and
Yeah,
he needs help.
he
Which I can
does.
only imagine like
Well,
mentally.
again, we don't know how long it's been. We find out later that it's been like 6 weeks now that she's been missing, which is not a long time. And, it's not like she's been dead or whatever. She is missing.
Right.
So I would imagine if my spouse were missing, I would probably not be sleeping. I would not be functional in any way. So none of this is unexpected, but move the baby in the house, with everybody
We're
else.
expecting that he's going to do his job like normal and he's going to meet with
Yeah,
families
it's really
that we know
weird.
is. It's like, why don't you give him a little time, give him a little break, give him a couple weeks off until we figure
I
something
mean, at
out.
some point, unfortunately, people go missing and they're never ever found. So at some point, you have to start doing normal things again to just survive. But like,
No.
this
When
should
he,
still be like an active and like this has not been a year or 2 years. It's just been
right.
a couple weeks, and they're kind of acting like he's way out of line by now he is drinking a lot, and I think all of those things. But
Yeah.
why aren't they doing something like take the
I think
baby in the house?
it's that like if we ignore it, then it won't be true. Like nobody wants to say and talk about the elephant in the room almost. Like she's just missing, she'll be back, it's fine. Even though they've all said we think she's dead, they don't want to act as if she is. It's like they don't want to give up that last little glimmer of hope when it's like,
See, that's a weird thing. I don't know. Maybe your experience is different, but in my experience now, I don't know a lot of people anymore that aren't in funeral service. I
yeah,
think when like I have some friends that aren't, but very few, honestly. Like everybody in my orbit is in funeral service in some way. And I guess everybody deals with it differently, but to me, like I feel like people like this family whose whole life is working in funeral service are strangely detached from things in a way that I don't think is too realistic because like for me, I'd be, if my brother or sister's spouse were missing, you know, like I'd be over there. I'd be doing something. I wouldn't just be like, "Well, you got to get your shit together." We don't know. Maybe she'll come back, maybe. No, you don't have to get your shit together. This like the woman is missing. It's like not a big deal
well, and at
to
one
them.
point he says that he keeps driving up to
Yeah.
where her car was. And I'm like, how long of a drive? Because to me, I thought that she was hours away.
Well, the sister's house was like 5 hours away, but she didn't make it that far. Remember, she only made it like halfway and was parked like at that little whatever
The little beach park.
hotel.
But I'm like, even if it's 2 hours away,
It's still a round trip a long time.
yeah, so like what, you're spending 5 hours a day? When do you have those 5 hours? And where's Maya during those 5 hours? And how often are you doing that? Like it's odd to me that not that he's doing that because I would probably too, but
Yeah.
when
Well,
is
you
he
wouldn't
doing
be,
that?
right. Like you wouldn't be working probably and doing all these other things and like,
No, it's just some of it's just odd. Well, Nate ends up meeting this family. Like, hey, let's send the man who's out of his mind with grief right now in to meet the gentleman whose wife just got hit over the plane by what we find
right?
out is blue ice. And the husband's going on
So
about
it's
like,
blue ice from an airplane, right? It's like
right.
toilet cleaner stuff.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
this. It's some condensation that freezes up and then it falls off. And the husband's like, it happens all the time. Who knew it happened all the time? But it just falls from the sky. And she
I
has
can honestly tell you, I don't recall ever having a family where this happened.
no, this is a new, like
This is
getting
new.
hit by frozen toilet water or whatever it is.
In your
Like,
backyard?
often does this, like, it's just
I
weird.
would think, now I don't know because I'm not an aviator, but I would think that if you're going to dump that, you would do it when you're over the ocean, and that if you're just flying like within the US, you're not in the air long enough to need to dump anything. You just clean that out when you're landed at your next place,
So here
right?
we'll read this. It's called blue ice. And aviation refers to frozen blue water waste material, often containing human waste and defecant that can, or disinfectant, not defecant, human waste and disinfectant that can leak from aircraft lavatories and freeze at high altitudes, sometimes falling to the ground. So you're not dumping it, it's just literally
Is
leaking out.
happening. Huh.
They're not allowed to dump their waste tanks mid-flight, and pilots have no mechanism to do so. However, leaks occur from septic tanks or drain tubes. It causes it to freeze, and then these chunks can break away and fall to the ground. They theorize, the FFA states that the ice would likely break up and melt before reaching the ground.
Well, something else to be afraid of now. Great.
Add that to the list.
Right?
Literal shit falling from the
Shit
sky.
falling out of the plane in a blue
Oh,
blob. Great.
God. Yeah, if you Google, there's pictures of like houses where it came through the roof.
What the hell?
That was in the UK. There's a bunch of it in India that they're talking about. I'm like, why is this a big problem in India? But yeah, so Google that, guys, because it's interesting. But so Nate and this husband are literally just going at it, and he says, "Go to a different funeral home. Bye-bye now."
Well, they're complaining because of the how much it costs, and they're,
Yeah,
accusing them of being. I think I think this was a kind of a good scene because he's like, I don't know what he was talking about, how much it costs or how you're treating it like it's a business. And Nate's like, you're right, it's a business. And like, Nate doesn't need to get crazy, but it is a business. It costs
yeah,
money. And and as much as we care about people and want them, to all these things at the end of the day, it's not free. And so I do appreciate them putting that little scene in there because it's just a reminder. A lot of times people get irritable or shitty with us because of the cost of things that, let me
yeah.
tell you, I've never worked at a funeral home that consulted me about what the prices were. It's just, here's what you charge people. But it is a business. It's not inexpensive, and it's like any other service business. It costs money to be in business.
Well, and it is a good because I always say, like you don't have to stick with the funeral home you're at, even if your loved one's body
Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean you have to stay there. If you don't like that funeral home, if you have a gut feeling about it
Yep.
not being the right place, you can transfer at any time. You just have to pay for what has happened up to that point.
Yeah.
I think that Nate's abrasive reaction is
Oh,
what
yeah.
is not acceptable in it because obviously he's not being professional and he's being
No.
really hurtful in some of his choice of words. But yes, every funeral home is not meant to serve every person.
Mhm.
It's just not. Just because it's a funeral home and just because someone died doesn't mean you're supposed to work together. You can
Nope.
transfer cost wise, go somewhere else, or just because you don't like the people.
Maybe you don't like the carpet. It doesn't matter.
No.
It's your choice. You do have the choice. And even if
Yeah.
your loved one's already there, you can have them taken to a different funeral home. And again, yeah, you do have to pay for whatever has happened up until that point. But I don't know. I just thought that was a good scene to kind of throw in there. His reaction was crazy, and you would never
Yes.
ever behave that way as a professional. But the whole idea that, like, if you don't like the prices, it is a business,
Hmm.
not a charity, and maybe a different funeral home is a better fit for you, and that can happen.
Yeah.
That was good to see. So when
Well,
he goes down there, he runs down to the prep room.
they're down there already. They show Dave and Rico are in the prep room
Yeah,
already, and they're having this. What I love is we've come so far from season one where Rico told Dave, like, I don't want to hear about your relationship. You keep your gayness all bottled up
yes,
because that's not okay.
yeah,
Now we've had multiple scenes where these two are in the prep room and are talking about, like Vanessa and Keith and their relationships. And Rico is asking him, like, hey, Dave, how's it going?
yeah.
They're confiding in each other in this kind of sacred space. And it is the prep room is a really you have a lot of like in-depth conversations with who you're working with down there because it really
Yep.
is uh like why mask your conversations in the prep room in terms of like, oh, it's great. We're great. Like you tell truths kind of, I feel like in the prep room, depending who you're working with. But so they've been
Yeah.
working and yeah, Nate blows on in complaining about that
Well,
family.
first they show her face and there's nothing there, so I'm a little
Yeah.
disappointed that, like,
I know I want to see the
she didn't stay
restoration.
there because they have it covered up, which is good. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, he just unhook her. It's like, well, it didn't work that way.
Power
It's
cord.
just like, right? Like, what the heck? So, yeah, but
Yeah, so he says they're leaving, they're going somewhere else, and they're like, "Well, I hope you charged them the $500 for embalming and transfer." And I was like, "Dang, that's cheap." Like
I thought the same thing. I'm like, you
this
guys
is
did well, it's
obviously
20 years
20
ago,
years ago, so I,
but still, I'm like,
that
y'all
into
need to up your
account.
prices, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you often, if someone goes, so let's say, kind of for everyone, if we get a call from a funeral home to do a removal, bringing the person into our care and embalming, and then we're going to be sending them on to that other funeral home, maybe out of state or something,
hmm
we will do a lesser price charge to that funeral home.
hmm
They are the ones that charge the family so that the family's not paying our fee and their fee.
Yeah.
It's a trade service we're doing. So it's a very
Yeah.
much lesser fee. That's why we always say if your loved one dies out of the area and you need to get them back, call your home-based funeral home. Don't
Yeah. Called the
find
funeral
a
home they're going to
local
end
funeral
up in
home.
because it's a different,
You're
yeah.
going to pay less in the long run.
Yeah.
But let's say, like, if a family calls us in the middle of the night and we bring someone into our care, and in the morning, after discussing more costs and more things, they're like, we should probably use a different funeral home down the road, that family has to pay us directly typically for
Yeah.
the transfer. And we don't try and make money off it. We really just want to
You have
make
to recover your costs.
Right, we use a removal service
Yeah.
area, and so we have to make sure we cover enough to pay for what we've paid for the removal service. So, and it depends on if you've gone from a hospital or from a home because they may send one person, they may send two. So we just have to cover our costs, and the family does have
Yeah.
to pay that. So
Yeah.
$500 though I thought was a banging good deal.
Right? It's like, okay. So, yeah, I
Nate's
mean, that's
like,
all
no,
we
I
hear about
didn't.
that.
Yeah, well, Nate says, no, I didn't. It's free. I told him it'd be free. I just want him to go away, kind of thing.
Well,
They're like, damn it, Nate, like stop giving stuff away. And so then
uh,
Nate runs off to this bar that seems like he's been frequenting where he sits and drinks tequila and has sex in the back with random women from the place. And so he's kind of in self-destruct mode right now, which I feel like we've seen him do before, but we're at a whole new level of kind of
this is just a level of like he needs when nothing else is going on, he needs therapy. Because the fact that your wife is missing and you're just now you're having sex with I don't know how many different people in a short time span, that is a totally different problem. What if she comes back?
right.
Oh yeah, while you were gone, I had sex with like 8 people because I was sad. That's not okay.
No.
It's just not.
No, he's just he's like poking the bear, I think, trying to, I don't know, almost attract a problem. Just he does.
Something is going on, and I'm sure, yeah, like it's stressful and terrible that your spouse is missing for a long time, but that's not, that shows more of a issue than just that,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and then we see Brenda where she in her new home or her apartment area, and she meets a neighbor. And it's Justin Thoreau.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so young. So
Yes. So,
it's crazy seeing him that many years ago. And he just got married. I just saw in the news or something like two, three
wasn't
weeks.
he married to Jennifer Aniston?
I don't know if they ever got married, did they? I know they were together a
I
long.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask me about that, but
I don't know
I
if they
thought
were
he was
married,
with
but they
her
were
for a
together
long
a long
time. Were
time.
they?
I know. Um, yeah, so she meets him and she's kind of in this like I don't want to date anybody and they have this cute flirtation going together, but yet she's really trying to be careful with him, not with Nate, but with him. Um,
Yeah.
then we've got Nathaniel comes and talks to David and they
Yep.
have this little
Just
conversation.
kind of out of nowhere. So it was kind of cool because he's just like
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It wasn't like a big
No.
reveal. He's just there.
Yep, just there chatting, which I
Yep.
think was nice. And from that, he talks to Keith,
Yep.
David does, and invites him to church. And they end up sitting out in the narthex during the whole church service and having this really nice conversation. And, sometimes you take out your pain and your frustration on the person you love the most because you know you won't fully push them away, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what they have going a little bit.
Yeah.
That they know even if they break up and they push themselves away, that they're going to come back together at some point just because
Right.
that's how they're going to be. Um,
So they're not back together. They're just
we're just
talking.
talking and, just kind of catching up on what's going on. And I feel like, at the end of the day, that is your best friend, supposed to be, your partner. And I think that Nate or Dave just needs to talk to him right now with everything going on with Nate and with the house and with business and with everything. He just really needs him. And so it's kind of nice to see that happening. Um, Claire, she's been down and just resting a lot after having her abortion.
Mhm.
She's just been feeling a lot of feelings.
Yep.
And everybody doesn't know that that happened, so they don't know why she's resting.
Right.
So she she finally gets up out of bed and she leaves to go to the cemetery to visit her dad. And I love this episode because everybody kind of needs their dad in this.
Yeah.
They're seeking him. And so she goes and she's like, dang it, I thought your grave was right here. And he shows up and he goes, honey, I'm way across the cemetery. And she's like, oh,
Right.
darn.
But it's kind of a cool scene where it's like, like a carnival kind of thing is happening. And she's like, what's cool? Is this what is there something happening? He's like, no, it's like this every day.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. But then, she sees Gabe,
Mhm. I
who
love
was
that.
her high school boyfriend. You what?
I love this. I love this.
I do
I
too.
love this whole scene and what we derive from it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's this um imagined sort of thing, but yeah, it also is a kind of beautiful moment where she sees all these people and realizes where they are and that they're okay and stuff. And I think she's carried a lot of question with some things, and I think this just brings so
Yeah.
much peace. But yeah, so it's like a huge party festival
Yeah.
thing going on in the cemetery.
We didn't know Gabe was dead.
Not for sure.
And
No.
no, we didn't. And she didn't know. So it's kind of like she sees him and then it dawns on her that if he's there, the thing, it's because he's dead. And so they talk for a little while and he like basically just says he's happier there than he was in life. And I mean, I guess that's all you can hope for anybody, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's, you believe that it's heaven and in some way or whatever,
Mhm.
and I wrote heaven is a something fair, and I don't know what this word is. And I'm pissed I can't read my own writing. Um, and he tells her life was not the right environment for me.
Yeah.
And that was so it's just very poignant. It was, that you're in the place you need to be, and he's with his little brother who had died, and I had forgotten all about his little brother.
Yeah.
That being kind of where we started some of their journey. And so it was kind of nice. Like he was with his brother, and he found his own peace by being there, kind of thing. And then um, she sees Claire.
No, she is Claire.
Or no, no, Claire sees Lisa.
Yeah.
Lisa. And Lisa's like, I'm good and everything's good. And she's taking care of a baby. And
Yeah.
there's like, what's going on? And Lisa's like, I'll take care of her until you're here. And she's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, are we just dreaming? Is this real? And I think it's real. I mean, I think it's,
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's supposed to. I like the way that they handled this with her, with Claire and her abortion, honestly, because it's not preachy about, either way of that conversation. It's just very neutral. And I think that they handle that very well. Um, but now we know that Lisa's dead. Nobody else really knows,
yeah,
for sure. So they're still going on. And then, in this time, well, before the cemetery, Ruth and George had told everybody they were going to get married. And, nobody had a great reaction to it because you're just going to marry some guy that you've known a couple of weeks. And then, you know, all this stuff is happening with Lisa being missing. And it seems kind of like she
well,
doesn't,
oh, go ahead.
it just seems strange, because she's
Yeah.
like, well, I've just realized how short life is and all this stuff. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of rude to try to be getting married like the next day
Well,
when
and
you're,
Ruth and Nate had a conversation and turned into a huge fight, and he
yeah,
tells her that everything is her fault.
right.
And I'm like, how unfair, how
Yeah.
horrible to put that on your mom as if it was her fault.
Well, yeah, because when his dad died, she asked him if he could stay for a little while. And he ended up staying, I mean, until this is probably what, a year, 2 years later now.
Yeah.
And so he blames her because if he hadn't stayed there, none of that would have happened, which is, I mean,
But he would have been back to me, like he would have still been up in Seattle, which is where he
yeah,
was, and that's where Lisa was. So this all could have happened
Sure.
regardless of
Yeah,
any of that. So I think that it's crap for him to put that
it
on
is.
his mama, but he's got some feelings, big feelings that are happening.
I would argue that it's probably not the best time for Ruth to get remarried.
No, probably not the best, but she's just doing her own thing.
Yeah,
She's doing her, and I
I
think she's
guess.
posting life is short, and maybe
But
we
at
need.
that point, here's
Oh,
like, I don't know. I don't, at that point, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, late 50s, probably early 60s. And like, what is the rush?
yeah. Why do it right in the moment of this stuff happening? Is
Right. That's what I mean. Like, what is the, why do you have to do it right now?
yeah.
It's not like, it's just a strange like rush for it that I don't understand, but
Um, Keith asked Dave not to give up yet, and I
yeah.
thought that was kind of a sweet little moment. Then we have Rico's having problems still at home because Vanessa's sister is living there, and she's just a biatch,
She
and
is.
she's rude to everybody and just pushing Rico's buttons, and so we
Mm-hmm.
kind of see a little more of that, and I think that's ramping us up for where Rico's mindset is going to be later.
Yeah.
Um, I will say we kept talking about not knowing like what month, and Rico looks at the calendar and it's June.
Okay.
So this is June when she's getting married and all this is happening. So I tried to watch for cues because last time we were like, we have no idea when.
Yeah. I know they said that they've known each other 6 weeks, George and Ruth now, so you can
That's how
kind of,
long. I didn't even correlate that to the Lisa, and that's a good way to track kind of
yeah,
the timeline too. So they've got that going, and kind of as Claire sees Lisa in heaven and then is taking care of the baby, and kind of after she comes out of that dream is when Nate gets the phone call that they found Lisa's body
yeah,
and had to do a dental match, and that's the only way. But nobody else knows this.
right.
Um, so everyone else is kind of going about, and Claire is getting helping her mom get ready for the wedding and getting married. And she gives her these earrings she got for her and says, they're blue and they're borrowed. And
Yeah.
it's very sweet, and
It
it's
is sweet
kind
because
of a
she's accepting it and not, at least she's not giving her mom too much grief about it. I mean, Nate's not even there.
yeah,
And nobody knows why, but we know why, but nobody else does. But he's not there, and David is just kind of whatever. There's
yeah,
no, I do feel bad for Ruth in a way. It's why I'm saying like wait a little while, and then people can be happy for you and you can have, this stuff, but that's not how it plays out. So, Nate goes to a bar, of course, and like picks a fight with this guy, and this guy
with
like
this
just
face beaten in, like
gets
just
his face beaten in. And Ruth and George get married.
in the Guadalupe wedding chapel.
You know what? It's as good as any. And it was cute. And then, it's just Keith and David and Claire and Maya. And
Yeah,
Claire just starts like bawling, like sobbing, which is just, it's kind of comical, because like nobody is even happy that they're getting married, but she's
no.
like crying. Not even, she's not crying because she's sad. I think she's just crying for a lot of reasons, but it's kind of comical. But they get married.
Well, and
Uh,
during this, they've got Rico. Like we go back and forth between
yep.
storylines really rapidly here,
Yeah.
where we've got
Yeah.
this wedding happening, and we've got Rico doing stuff, and we got Nate getting his butt whipped, and Rico goes to salsa because he doesn't want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the salsa class and he meets this guy who's also there dancing. And he's like, do you want to go to another after thing? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And they end up at the strip club and Rico meets a chick and she gives him a lap dance. And then they end up in the car and she gives him a blowjob and he tries to give her money. And she's like, I'm not a prostitute. I liked you. And so then he's like, oh, crap. And she thought maybe they were going to hang out. And he's like, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So this whole thing escalated really quickly for Rico. And
Yeah. So now he's
very
done this.
disappointed in him.
Yeah. So now he does this and he's done this with this prostitute and you're just kind of like, well,
Stripper.
that was stupid, but you don't really think it's much more of it at this point.
No, it's just kind of
Um,
there and it's done. And
yeah.
you're that, okay, he was stupid for a moment.
Yeah.
Ruth and George, they all kind of come back
The house.
to the house and to have like a little whatever. And Arthur brings a little wedding gift to Ruth and George. He's just, oh gosh, he's so awkward. Like he's
Is
painfully awkward, but God, I love him in his
he
role.
is.
He's so funny. So he brings them a little gift, and um, Nathaniel is in the car. They were in the car, weren't they? They were driving, and
Yeah,
he's
Nate. So Nate's driving after this bar fight, and his dad's in the car with him, telling him basically, just drive off a cliff, just kill yourself. Just and then Lisa's in the car going, well, it's the least you can do for me. You didn't even love me. Now you should kill your. Like, so they're like telling him to kill
yeah.
himself, drive off the cliff, and he's like, no, I don't want to die. So it's a very dramatic and very strange scene where they're like goading him into, you know, driving off this cliff, and he
Guys, Dad's
doesn't.
like this. There, that's a good spot right there if you really want to get
Yeah.
it done. And
Yeah. It's like, okay. And then, of course, he goes to Brenda's house.
that's how it kind of ends for the whole season. Is
Yeah.
Rico getting a blowjob, Ruth gets married, Claire's an emotional mess. Dave is with Keith because Keith came to the wedding.
To the wedding. So they're
And so you're like, what's going on
bonding.
there? And then we got
Yeah.
Nate shows up all beaten to crap at Brenda's door. And that's like
Yeah.
end scene. And Lisa's
Yeah.
end scene. And that's how we close out this
Right.
season. And it's kind of like this whole season was so slow and draggy. And then we're
You
gonna,
just need to do, yeah, you could have watched like the first episode and the last episode, honestly.
can I tell you? Oh my God, that I gotta tell you. So there's a show, couldn't even tell you what the show is. It's a new show. There's a blonde chick. She dresses like she's supposed to be an undercover prostitute, but she's not. And she's like really intuitive and stuff. And she ends up working for the police department as a detective or something. They bring her.
Yeah.
It's a new show that just came out. So I was like, hey, this kind of looks good. It has the word high in it.
Okay.
High potential or something like that. So
Okay.
I tell Josh, hey, let's watch this show. Let's see what it's about. So I click on it, I click play. So we're watching this episode, and I'm like, maybe this person, well, obviously, maybe she used to date that person. Like, we're trying to figure this whole show out. Gets to the end of the episode, and it ends, and I was like, that's a weird way to end the episode, but maybe okay, this is how we're starting. So I go to click on the next step, or no, then you think it rolls to the
Yeah.
next episode. It goes to a different show completely. And I was like, what happened? So I go back to it. We watched the last episode.
You guys, oh my God.
How would
You,
we have known? Like if I click on a show and I click play, you would think it would start at the beginning. But I was like,
yeah.
well, I guess we don't have to watch the whole season because we that's
Well,
what
now you know what happens.
I was like, well, that explains a lot of shit that we didn't know was going on because
Oh
we were like,
my
what is
God.
happening here? But we had missed 12 or 13 episodes, but we could have with this season probably just
Yeah,
watched that last episode and catched up. And
totally.
but I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, we are so ding-dongy. It was it was very comical. We could not believe we did it, but
Oh my gosh.
that's okay. There's no drinking involved or anything. It was just a rando thing. It was funny
Oh
though.
my God.
But well, yeah, we're ending out season 3.
3.
Done, gone. Move on to season 4. I'm excited for season 4
Me
because,
too.
well, I've already watched a couple episodes and I'm excited because I don't remember a lot of some of these storylines. So it really is like watching it for the first time, and I'm getting
Yeah.
excited about some of the character things and the little nuances going on. And
Yeah.
we're back in the prep room a little bit more, and not a ton, but there's a few more scenes with bodies and
Yeah.
follow through with some of the body stuff. And they're doing the storyline of the dead person a little
Right.
bit more so
There's
far.
more.
So we'll see if how that goes. But
Yep.
let us know what you think about season 3, guys, and how it all concluded and what you're hoping for in season 4. I'm excited. We'll see you next Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.